Hey guys, today we are talking about how to adapt to playing a 5-string violin when you're used to playing a 4-string violin. What is this 5-string violin thing? Has it got like a high string? It does not. It has a low C on it. That extended range is incredibly handy. Why is that? Because many violinists are also violists. That's right. Be loud, be proud. You can have a violin and a viola all in one instrument. You can take either job and only have to bring one instrument with you. Or if you're an improviser, man, that extended range is really nice for being able to make some different decisions when you're playing on stage. Is it really a thing? Yes, it really is a thing. In fact, we probably sell as many 5s as we do 4s, maybe even more. And I feel like acoustic instruments would start extending range more if they could do it effectively. The problem with the small wooden body on a violin is it just really can't make those booming low frequencies the way a viola or a cello body can. But with a pickup, we can kind of get past all that. Well, on the necks, how do we deal with the necks? It turns out that every manufacturer is different. There are some manufacturers like Bridge Violins or Stratton Violins that keep their necks fairly narrow so that it feels more like a 4-string neck. You just have a tighter string spacing. Zeta, Jordan, Wood Violins, Aurora Violins, those guys tend to go a little bit wider on their necks to keep the string spacing closer to what you're used to. So depending on which feel you really want, you can make a decision on which type of violin might suit your needs the best. Bridge curvature, again, we do sometimes the E, your arm may have to drop a little lower, and then the C, your arm's going to come a little higher in order to get that curvature where you can reach each string and really dig into that string the way you need to without hitting the strings next to it. You would be surprised how quickly your body adjusts to that little bit of curvature difference though. So I have a couple of tips for you. My first tip is if you're having trouble adjusting to 5 strings, do not look down the strings towards your hand. Looking down the strings towards your hand, you're going to see a middle string, and that can be really disorienting, and it can make you freeze for just a second, which is not a good thing when you're trying to perform on the violin. So tip number 1 is do not look if you're struggling a little bit with the 5 string. The second tip is don't think from the bottom up, think from the top down. A lot of times we get excited about this new toy. We got this new C string and we start trying to play everything from the C string and then working our way up. The top 4 strings you already know. You know E, A, D, and G. So start from the top and work from the top down, and then maybe use that C string once in a while as you need it. But if you're thinking from the top down instead of the bottom up, it's going to be easier for your brain to make that adjustment. My third tip is give it some time. Some people pick it up and it just feels like home right away. Others require a little more time. If you're struggling with the instrument, the 5 string, I would say probably 10 hours is about what you need to spend with that instrument for it to really feel like home. So if you're practicing 2 hours a day, within 5 days, that instrument ought to feel really good. If you're practicing an hour a day, you can do math. I don't have to do that for you. So the good thing is we have a 30-day return policy. It's pretty easy to get 10 hours of practice time in those first 30 days. So if you're thinking you may want a 5 string, just go ahead and buy it. And if you get 10 hours in on that instrument and it's still, man, I'm not getting this, then you can call us up and we'll talk about you sending that instrument back and maybe finding a 4-string version that is going to work well for you. Okay? Now, a lot of people ask, if we're reading music, how do you notate for 5 strings? How does that work? Well, we can do ledger lines. I didn't put that here. Obviously, we can do ledger lines. We do ledger lines above the staff all the time, like a bunch of ledger lines above the staff. You can learn how to read ledger lines below the staff. What's more common is to switch from treble to alto clef. So you'll see the music actually go back and forth between treble and alto clef, or treble and bass clef. Sometimes we'll put the little 8VB line next to those notes to let you know, hey, I notated a D here, on the space below the staff. It's really the next D down. And then sometimes you'll see the treble -8, which is a treble clef. It's got the little 8 at the bottom, which tells you the notes that you're reading, you should play them an octave lower than what you're reading. So there are a couple of options for notating with 5 strings. Now, who's writing music for 5-string violins? It turns out a lot of people are writing music for 5 and 6 and 7-string violins. And this is a very incomplete list here, but you can look up these people, and all of them have literature online that you can buy for 5, 6, or 7-string violins. I do want to give you an example of my buddy Charlie McCarthy, who's got some etudes in his books to help you really sort of figure out how to make that 5-string work for you. And you can find him, Charlie McCarthy. He's on Facebook, pretty easy to find. Good dude, writes some cool stuff, and this might be helpful to you if you're adjusting to 5-string. So I hope that has been helpful for you. A couple of tips on adjusting when you're switching from 4-string to 5. As always, please check out our YouTube channel, check out some other videos here, and I will check you guys out next time.